Because as I was walking out the turf, going past the coach loads of Sunderland fans, some of which were indicating with their fingers how many penalties they'd missed. Hi, my name is Mike. Welcome to my vlog about football in general and Burnley FC in particular. A vlog that this week worked out that if Burnley sold every single seat in Turf Moor for every single championship game for £50 each, it still wouldn't be enough to cover Erling Haaland's new yearly salary. Well, if you'd have told me beforehand that the game between Burnley and Sunderland was going to finish 0-0, I'd probably have looked you in the eye and gone, oh, for God's sake. But there you go, that's the beauty of football. That was the most entertainingly bonkers 0-0 draw that I've seen in years. I thought it was an excellent game. Two teams that were trying to win, playing good football, creating chances, end to end. I thought, and we'll come to this, I thought at the time it was decently officiated. There was a minimum of play acting and general shithousery, except when it was necessary, and penalty drama. It had everything. It was a cracking night in front of the lights. I mean, even the weather kind of went exactly how you kind of want it to do. In January you think it's going to be wet and miserable, but it was actually a very nice night under the lights. Two sets of supporters in full voice as well. We've had rarity there. Packed Turf Moor, big game, and it kind of lived up to the billing. The only thing it didn't have was actual goals. Clarets started well. They started incredibly promising because they were for once trying to win, or at least it feels like they were trying to win. They were sent out to try and win and to attack. There was some excellent work down the wings by especially Jadon Anthony, who was having a great battle with the fullback, I think it's Sifkin or something like that, having a great battle with him for the 80 minutes that they were on the pitch together. There was some really nice passing. There was attacking intent on both sides. Clarets were really going at it for the first 15-20 minutes, and Sunderland were struggling, I think, to kind of cope, which is fair enough. Burnley are a good side going forward, and most teams are not going to be able to cope when we try to attack. But credit to the visitors, they kind of pulled themselves back into it. They weathered the storm. They started playing themselves. They had a couple of good chances, and then it was a very even to and fro game. Really impressed with Sunderland. Some of their players, Joe Bellingham, I know he kind of has to live with the hype of his brother, but I thought he was very, very good. They had their new guy who cost like £16 million or something like that. He looked decent on the Sunderland left. Good battle with Connor Roberts. Connor Roberts was to and fro with the guy. It was just a really good game of football. If we kind of there's a couple of things, I'll get to the main kind of incidents at the end, but if we were to nitpick a little bit, the Clarets' flaws were obvious in the same way they've been obvious all season. Fleming was put there as a striker. I've said it, he cannot play with his back to goal. He's been asked to play with his back to goal. He can't play with his back to goal. Therefore, he looked ineffective. This is a guy who's been scoring, in the last few games. Why has he been scoring in the last few games? Because he's facing the damn goal. So it's as simple as that. Lyle Foster out on the left. Not against it. Not for it. Not against it. I thought he did well. But then I've been saying for a long time that Lyle Foster is a square peg in a round hole at the best of times. We're trying to find the best thing for him. There's clearly a player there. He's a great player, or a great player with a lot of potential, a lot of promise. We just have to find out how to use him. And on that left-hand side, him and Bashir Humphreys, I thought worked well together. I thought what was interesting was Foster kind of made space for Humphreys to move forward and to, attack from promising positions. There were a lot of times where Foster kind of drifted inside and Humphreys was the one at the back post. And that kind of sort of worked, and I'm not against it. Josh Brownhill did not have a good game, but again, I don't think the system kind of suited him. He was kind of in the wrong place. So it was kind of like I would expect him to be where Cullen was, Cullen to be where Lauren was, and Lauren to be where Brownhill was, if we're going to go with that kind of threesome in the middle. Speaking of Cullen, a great, neat and tidy game. as always, the defence looked absolutely rock solid. CJ Egan-Riley making a number of great blocks, also distributing the ball very well. But also what was really good, after a sort of being overshone a little bit, Maxim Estev was an absolute rock, I thought, yesterday. Cutting across, covering the dangerous Wilson Isidore. Isidore, the kind of name where you think during the week he's off in Middle Earth fighting orcs. But of course, the star of the show was James Trafford. Now, there was a lot of sort of like umming, ahhing, wincing, complaining when he was trying to play the ball out against the Sunderland press. Sunderland's high press was really, really good. Sometimes we managed to play through it, sometimes we didn't. That's modern football now. But after a while, we kind of decided to go a bit longer, and that's fair enough. We wasn't sticking to that rigidly because it was going to get us into trouble, get us into more trouble. But it was kind of like you need to vary it around a little bit. But of course, the main thing that Trafford's going to be remembered for is the 2 penalty saves, the penalty drama. And here's kind of the irony: watching the game in the stadium, I thought the referee was all right. There was, I think it was better than all right in the stadium, because there was the foul on Anthony that people have been up in arms about. Now I was kind of like directly behind that, in line with that, and it was just 2 shoulders. Shoulders are okay, shouldering a player off the ball is fine. So I don't get what people were up in arms about. The penalty shout on Fleming, it was one of those you kind of like, really? I'm not sure. Again, maybe with replays and stuff, you can produce a case. But in the moment, in a game where the 2 sets of players are trying to play, the referee was letting them play. He wasn't overly picky, he wasn't overly officious or anything like that. It was just contributing to a decent atmosphere and a decent occasion. Now, I'll come on to the penalties. The first penalty, again, at the time, I thought he's made a meal of it, but I reckon he's been clipped. So when the referee pointed to the spot, I was like, okay, fair enough. He's got a better view of where that was taken, or where that incident occurred. It happened at very high speed, because Isidore's a very fast player. And it turns out, on replay, it was actually outside the box. That's just the way it goes. And then there's the long delay where Trafford is messing around with his gloves and blah, 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 and it's saved. And we kind of think we got away with it. And then in injury time, after the substitutions were a bit weird. Connor Roberts off for Son. I kind of thought, well, if you're bringing Son on, why aren't you going to 5 to the back or something like that, rather than taking Roberts off? Maybe Roberts was knackered. He'd been battling all game. Maybe he was tired, and Parker felt we needed fresh legs. Brownhill substituted, okay, but I remember saying to the guy next to me, Koleosho coming on, this didn't feel like a Koleosho kind of game. And then we conceded the penalty almost immediately after those 2 substitutions. So Koleosho didn't really get much of a chance to do much. It really didn't feel like the kind of game where he was going to do anything either. That's not his fault, it's just one of those games. And then, Sonner gives away the Son, not Sonner. Sonner's the Rammstein song. Son's the player. Son gives away that penalty. Again, at the time I thought it was a daft but not clear-cut one, where it was kind of like, you let him make a decision there. On replay, it's one of those where actually it is soft, it's very cheap. Apparently he gave it for handball, allegedly. Well, again, very, very soft if he did. But VAR would not have overturned that one. They'd have gone with the referee's call to protect the referee's, cover his arse. And then Trafford, there was the unfortunate delay of the game while Trafford's leg fell off, and it had to be reattached. What can you say? Mind game, shithousery, whatever. It was drama at its finest, and I couldn't. I think I kind of blanked out a little bit because I don't remember seeing him save the ball. I remember seeing the shot, I remember seeing the ball high up in the air bouncing away, but I think that just in that moment I blanked out because of the drama of the whole thing. And Trafford's interview on Sky afterwards, where he's just smirking his head off, saying what he's going, my hammy was crying. And then he sort of looks down and smirks. It's like, he doesn't really have a poker face, that lad. But yeah, then the final whistle blows, and a incredibly dramatic, incredibly entertaining end-to-end 0-0 draw finishes. And I mentioned VAR and the penalties and stuff like that earlier, and I think that game, and I say this, I've said before that I was a fan of introducing VAR, and I kind of sort of still think VAR could work if the people in charge of VAR wanted it to work, which they very clearly don't. But anyway, I've gone on about that enough. Here's a question for you. If VAR had stepped in, would you be feeling the same way as you did walking out of the turf yesterday evening? Because as I was walking out of the turf, going past the coach loads of Sunderland fans, some of which were indicating with their fingers how many penalties they'd missed, I was just on a high, and so was the entire crowd, with the sheer joy of a wonderful game of football. And part of the drama of the game, a significant part of it, but it was a dramatic game, a significant part of the drama came from those penalties. And in hindsight, and on replays, at least one of them was wrong and the second was arguably not, was going to be given a soft one, but if he hadn't blown, it wasn't going to get it overturned. But the point is, VAR stepping in would have taken that drama away. And this is the thing that I've been going on about all season. This is the thing where I said, a few weeks ago, that I'd had enough of watching this turgid crap football because it was boring. Last night was not boring. If Isidore had scored one of those penalties, would I have been disappointed to lose? Of course I would. But I would have been disappointed to lose an entertaining game of football and walked away and gone, bloody hell, bugger, all the swear words. Well, that's the way it goes. And I'd far rather be disappointed to lose than bored to draw or win. And that was the thing. Last night, the Clarets were trying to win. They were playing decent against a very decent side in a cracking atmosphere from the two sets of supporters. They were both trying to win the game. Our flaws were shown up in finishing, but our strengths were shown in defending. And Sunderland's, they didn't have their flaw that their players, man for man, are probably not man for man as good as Burnley's players. Their flaw, they just couldn't quite get it over the line. They were all on show. But as an entertainment spectacle, it was incredible value for money. And probably the only, and including the 5-0 against Cardiff, because that wasn't a massive amount of entertainment, it was probably the only entertaining game we've had at the turf this year. Certainly in terms of the drama, the atmosphere, the whole shebang. One of the most entertaining games I've seen in a few years, and I include the company season in that. Probably, any other game this season is going to have to go some to top that. And that, as a fan, as a paying customer, is all I ever asked for. Because I've said I've been bored shitless this season watching the Clarets. That is, I think, our 8th 0-0 draw. But I will take 8 of those 0-0 draws. Then I will the game against Swansea, which we won. The Plymouth one, which we drew. We won that, but it was on TV. That was boring on TV. I'll take that 0-0 over any of them. And and if you will take one of the other games over that, you're a liar, really. Because what more do you want out of football? Well, as I've found out the hard way, some people are just interested in results. And those people who are just interested in results, well, they, if they're being consistent about it, should be annoyed at yesterday's game. They should be coming off fuming instead of feeling like a 0-0 draw was a win. Because if you're just concentrating on the result, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of football. You're missing the joy of that drama. And it's kind of funny that, the same people saying, shut up about the performances, it's all about the results, well, please, if you're one of those, how, answer me this question. How's Scott Parker's record doing compared to Vincent Kompany? Because I got that thrown at me for about 3 months. Oh, Scott Parker's ahead of where Kompany was at this time of the season 2 years ago. Yeah, I know. You were very, very carefully not noticing what happened from November onwards, or December onwards. Everyone knew it was coming, but you're not using that to defend the manager. You can't anymore. But if Parker sends the team out to play like he did yesterday, then I'm not going to criticise him for it. And that's the thing. That yesterday proved, I guess, the point I've been saying all along. It's a flawed team that doesn't particularly know how to score. But yesterday, it's a flawed team that doesn't know how to score, that is trying to score. My God, we were getting crosses in from the byline, like we did against Reading, like we did against Blackburn, like we did against Sheffield United. We were getting crosses in from deeper positions. And look, we've scored goals, or we had a goal threat. It's not rocket science, I keep saying this. Because ultimately, like I say, why do we go to watch football? If the goal of football, of watching your football team, is to watch them win trophies, let's be blunt, find another team. Because there's only 4 teams in the country win trophies. And Burnley isn't one of them. Burnley's never going to be one of them. So all we ever ask for, or all I ever ask for, is just to enjoy those 90 minutes. Just to watch 2 teams go for a win. And yesterday was a fantastic example of Championship football at its best, of a night game moved for TV, but still working out in terms of atmosphere, in terms of drama, and all that kind of thing, a midweek game. And it was an example of what Burnley FC can be. I'm obviously not expecting every game to be like that. It can't be like that. But, there is a middle ground. It was the most crazy, like I say, the most crazy bonkers fun of a 0-0 draw I can think of in years. But all I'm saying is, God, can we have a little bit more attempt to make it like that? Do I think this team's going to get promoted? Because, we've beaten Sheffield United. We drawn to Sunderland, who were in 4th. We got Leeds up next. Now I can't go to that one. But anyway, do I think we can get promoted? Automatic promotion. I think the Leeds game is going to tell us if we're going to get automatically promoted or not. We need to score. We need to win that game. It sounds daft for second against third in January. Got to say it's a promotion 6-pointer. I don't think they ever are, but I think this one is as close as you're going to get. Leeds are very much like Sunderland, in my opinion. They are open, which gives us opportunities. But again, if we have a crack at it, if we play like we did last night, then I'm not going to complain no matter what the result is. Because we're going for it, and we're going for it at last. And that's all I can ask. Do I think we'll get automatically promoted? I don't think so. I think we're a playoff team, but I think we're a team very, very, very capable of winning the playoffs. I don't want to go in the playoffs. They're horrible to be there as a fan. But, I think that's where our fate lies right now. But all I can say is, between now and whatever the end of the season brings, more of that, please. Please keep that up. And no matter where we end at the end of the season, I won't be complaining about it. Up the Clarets. If you enjoyed this vlog, if you want to hear more content, please click like and subscribe and click the notification bell, and it will come. You will be notified when I upload new content.